Welcome to YogiViews, where my guest is yoga itself, through interviewing those who practice it, teach it, sell it, or simply love it. I am Antonio Sausys. In the past 50 years, we've witnessed a huge growth in the incidence of cancer all over the world. Most of us have a friend, an acquaintance, or a family member that suffers from this disease, for which, despite the efforts of healers, doctors, and researchers, a full cure remains elusive. The prestigious MD Anderson Cancer Center has been awarded more than $4.5 million by the National Cancer Institute to study the efficacy of incorporating yoga into the treatment program of women with breast cancer. The research is being done in collaboration with the Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhana Samsthana, a yoga research foundation and university in Bangalore, India. The world looks at this study led by Professor Lorenzo Cohen, who is the director of MD Anderson's Integrative Medicine program, with high hopes, since previous research has shown that yoga and other types of mind-body practices incorporated into the standard of care can help improve patients' outcomes, particularly quality of life. In the meantime, more and more cancer patients practice yoga, a science that, in my opinion, offers a link to a new life during and after cancer. To address this topic, I have prepared a presentation for the Stanford Hospital Center for Integrative Medicine in Connecticut, United States, that I'd like to share with you today. Yoga can bring the possibility of a new life once you or those you work with have been touched by cancer. Cancer, because of being a life-threatening illness, changes our relationship to life. Whatever you thought life was is now under revision. Whomever you thought your beloveds were, they are now being tested. And certainly, the notion of tomorrow looks now very different from what it used to. The parameters that we used to measure our lives are now different, and yoga can bring some light, can be a link to a new life during and after cancer. I am pleased to have noticed that in recent years, science is moving towards acknowledging a notion that is in the core of the teachings of yoga, and that is that everything in the universe works as a unit, in an integrated fashion, together. One of these sciences is psychology, that through one of its branches, psychoneuroimmunology, studies the relationship between the nervous, endocrine, and immune system, and that has discovered that these three systems too work together as a unit. This important finding is in the core of psychosomatic medicine, and the notion that our thoughts can affect our body and our health, or that some parts of our body, when expressing a disturbance in the health, they might be actually expressing a psychological or emotional issue more than just a mere physical one. The way in which these three systems are integrated or work is through the presence of neuropeptides. The neuropeptides are chemicals that once flushed in the bloodstream, released in the bloodstream, can be read by each one of these systems in a particular way, deriving the information that is pertinent to that particular system. This can explain, for example, why a person that has high self-esteem usually experiences positive thoughts and feelings and is usually healthy, whereas someone who has low self-esteem experiences negative thoughts and feelings and is usually more prompt to illness or to accidents. A perhaps less scientific yet interesting example finds a correlation between certain kind of thoughts and the shape of water crystals when frozen. Dr. Masaru Emoto, a Japanese author and entrepreneur, is known for his claim that if human speech or thoughts are directed at water droplets before they are frozen, images of the resulting water crystals will be of a different kind, depending on the nature of the thoughts. If exposed to positive thoughts or speech, the crystals will be more beautiful, presenting a geometric, well-balanced and proportioned design. On the other hand, when exposed to negative thoughts or speech, they will be more ugly, presenting a definite distortion, and will be randomly formed. Emoto claims that this same results can be also achieved by prayer, music, or even by simply attaching written words to a container of water. Within each one of us, this integration is also happening between mind, body, and spirit that also work together in an integrated way. We are all three at the same time, exquisitely integrated, in such a way that there is no real possibility of acting on one without affecting the others. We cannot perform an action that would not elicit the appearance of specific thoughts, nor can we have thoughts that would not alter our physical reality. But most importantly, mind and body are also in direct relation with spirit. Sometimes when I name spirit, some people can become uncomfortable. Not all of us exhibit equal acceptance towards spirit. And yet, we all have a notion, an idea of what spirit is. For example, for religions, spirit is God. And according to the religion, then God will have a particular name. Now, for some spiritual disciplines, spirit is just knowledge. The knowledge, for example, that allows a kidney cell to understand how to clean the blood, or a planet how to go around the sun. For Native Americans and many ancient societies, spirit is just that, spirit. Needs no definition. Even for the agnostics, a similar notion to spirit can be found in the order of all things. That, for example, says that everything in the universe starts, develops, and ends. It doesn't matter whether we are talking about a day that starts at sunrise, peaks at noon, and ends at dawn, or a thought that appears in our minds, then develops and then goes, or a life that starts at birth, then develops and ends at death. Spirit is perhaps the best expression of yourself. But more than a notion, or a thought, or an idea, spirit is an experience. So please, now, take a moment to close your eyes and hear the sounds that you can perceive. The sounds that are close by, the sounds that are far. Hear the sounds that you identify and the sounds you don't know what they correspond to. Hear the loud sounds and the soft sounds. Hear all sounds. Now, switch your awareness to your ears, your physical ears, and feel your ears. Perhaps feel the temperature. Feel if you can perceive any air. And see whether you can perceive the middle ear and even the inner ear. Feel your physical ears. Now, switch your awareness to you, the witness of the sounds. Not the sounds, not the ears perceiving the sounds, but you, the witness of all sounds. From now on, we can call that spirit. Why am I bringing spirit up? Well, because the core or the motto of my program is that spirit can't have cancer. Cancer lives in the body, while the mind struggles to understand. The mind and the body crave, while the spirit is fulfilled and needs nothing. Please take a moment to register what or how you feel or felt when you heard this phrase, spirit can't have cancer. Probably, especially if you're a cancer sufferer, you experienced a certain level of relief. The encounter with spirit is always pleasant, just like it feels pleasant to row downstream or to sleep at night, simply because we sink in with the order. This idea came as a result of me attending a conference where Ram Dass was a presenter. At the time, Ram Dass had already had a stroke. And to open the conference, he said, "My body had a stroke." At that point, my psychologist mind said, "Oops, denial here." But fortunately, the yogi in me was deeply impacted by this truth that would later on deeply influence my work. Spirit is knowledge, the knowledge of the universe, and it needs nothing, unlike the body and the mind that basically crave. To not be in touch and follow this knowledge is what Patanjali, a Hindu sage that lived approximately 2,500 years ago, and who wrote the first written known definition of yoga, called the first of 5 causes of suffering. That is, to ignore the truth, to disregard the fact that there is a certain knowledge and that things work in a particular way. The second one is egoism, or the false identification with the mind and the body only. Simply because the mind and the body, as we said before, permanently crave, if we are solely identified with them, we end up being slaves of this craving machine. Whereas the spirit, as we said before, is eternally fulfilled, knows everything and needs nothing. The third one is attachment. The strong emotional bond that includes a dependency on the permanence of that which we are attached to. The fourth one is aversion, or the opposite of attachment. The fifth and last one is fear of death. Interestingly enough, in just these 5 categories, Patanjali condensed all the possible sources or causes of suffering. And interestingly enough, he also gave a solution, which is reduce everything to the source, to spirit, and deal with the resistance of the mind through meditation. The tremendous healing power of yoga comes from its deep respect for spirit and for the unit that we are. One of the main difficulties with the Western model of medicine is that it is symptom-oriented and that it compartmentalizes the knowledge. A sick kidney is just that for Western medicine, a sick kidney. Perhaps for other Eastern viewpoints, a kidney is part of a being that has a mind that affects it and a spirit that gives reason to it. It cleans the blood, but it also holds aspects related to how we deal with the garbage within. And it encompasses the entire knowledge of the universe in regards to purification. To help us understand and realize this integration, yoga offers 3 types of actions, of realms of action. It offers postures, or body exercises, or asanas to address the body. It offers us breath work, or pranayama, to address the mind. You might have noticed that for every mind state, there is a corresponding breath form. Therefore, if we change the way we breathe, probably we can change the state of our minds. And then to address the spirit, yoga offers meditation or dhyana. By now we know that any of these realms of action affects all the others, and therefore all the 3 aspects of the being, the mind, the body, and the spirit. Fortunately, as part of the merging of yoga and science, we have now access to an important number of research results, a key element of Western science, and especially medicine. Research results indicate that yoga can offer improvement in the overall quality of life, in the emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being, in managing fatigue and stress, mood disturbances, emotional irritability, state and trait of anxiety, negative affect, social functioning, cognitive disorganization, tension, distress, depression, confusion, and overall mental health. It also improves subjective sleep quality, faster sleep latency, longer sleep duration, and less use of sleep medication. On the other hand, yoga has been proven to decrease the experiences of hot flushes, to decrease the frequency and intensity of post-chemotherapy-induced nausea and anticipatory nausea, as well as post-radiotherapy DNA damage, and reducing change in immune patterns, particularly the reduction of Th1 or pro-inflammatory cytokines. What these studies are showing is that there are certain techniques within the yoga world that are proven to be useful to aid cancer treatment. But for those techniques to work, you have to perform them. We have to practice them. And yoga is based on practice. Now, there are many ways of practicing or of understanding practice. Perhaps in this case, practice can mean simply being aware of your spiritual self, or as Patanjali said, reducing all aspects of life to the source, to spirit. One can also practice by simply turning life itself into practice, the simple facts of life. But also there are specific techniques that we can practice that can help with cancer symptoms, cancer treatment, and with the secondary effect of treatment that, as many know, are at times even more intense than the symptoms of cancer itself. So, why is it that I say that yoga can be a new link to life? Well, because it reconnects us with the essential knowledge that governs our lives. Because once who you were, you no longer are thanks to cancer, it offers us the possibility of re-identifying ourselves, this time more in accordance to our essence, and perhaps not so much to what our parents told us, society told us, or the magazines showed us was cool. Yet, perhaps the most important aspect is that yoga develops love. Love for ourselves, love for others. For Defletzen and Dahlke, two German authors, cancer is misunderstood love. In the words of these two authors, love overcomes all barriers. And it reaches all places. And it stops at nothing. It unites the opposites and does not fear death. These characteristics could describe cancer as well. It is interesting that the only organ that cannot get cancer is the heart. Is it because love is the solution? If so, then yoga is bringing us closer to that solution. The most important aspect yet is that yoga brings us back to the unity, to the integration of all things. When being in touch with the spirit through yoga, I've seen those recovering speed up their recovery process, even avoid recurrence. But also, when recovery is not possible, I've seen spirits blooming in the midst of bodily decay. And if you've been close to someone dying, you will understand that this is perhaps the absolute best you can hope for. I hope you liked this show today. And if you care to let me know, shoot me an email at antonio@yogiviews.com. I look forward to seeing you the next time.